Have you ever wondered why the most powerful statement Jesus ever made wasn't about love, forgiveness, or even salvation, but rather three simple words that shattered every religious and philosophical foundation of his time? When Jesus boldly declared, "Before Abraham was, I am," he wasn't just making a theological claim. He was revealing the most revolutionary secret about human consciousness that has been hidden in plain sight for over 2,000 years. Think about this for a moment. Here was a man standing before the religious authorities, facing potential death by stoning, and instead of backing down or explaining himself in safe, acceptable terms, he made a statement so audacious, so seemingly impossible, that it defied everything his listeners thought they knew about time, identity, and the nature of existence itself. But what if I told you that this wasn't arrogance or blasphemy? What if this declaration was actually the key to unlocking the same timeless awareness that exists within you right now? Has this ever happened to you? You're going through your daily routine, perhaps in a moment of quiet reflection or unexpected stillness, and suddenly you experience a profound sense of existing beyond your personal story, beyond your name, your history, your circumstances, as if touching something eternal within yourself that was never born and will never die. That fleeting glimpse is exactly what Jesus was pointing to when he spoke those revolutionary words. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world, and if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. The truth is, most of us have been conditioned to read Jesus's "I am" statement as either a claim of divinity exclusive to him or as some mystical riddle meant only for theologians to debate. But what you're about to discover might completely transform how you understand not just Jesus's words, but the very nature of your own consciousness and identity. This wasn't a statement about the past or even about Jesus himself. It was a direct pointing to a dimension of awareness that transcends all temporal boundaries, a state of being that exists before every story you've ever told yourself about who you are. When Jesus said, "Before Abraham was," he was speaking about something that exists prior to all human lineage, all historical timelines, all personal narratives. And when he declared, "I am," he wasn't referring to his personal identity as Jesus of Nazareth, but to the same timeless consciousness that beats your heart, breathes through your lungs, and is aware of these very words right now. Stay with me until the end of this exploration, because what we're about to uncover together will reveal how this ancient declaration holds the secret to awakening from the fundamental illusion that keeps most people feeling separated from their divine nature. The distance you sometimes feel between yourself and the sacred isn't a reality to overcome. It's an illusion that dissolves the moment you truly understand what Jesus meant when he spoke from that eternal "I am" that exists before all time. This revelation becomes even more profound when you understand that Jesus wasn't claiming something exclusive to himself when he declared his timeless "I am" nature. In John 10:34, he made another statement that religious institutions have often struggled to explain: "You are gods." This wasn't poetic language or a metaphorical expression. It was a direct recognition of the same eternal consciousness he embodied being present within every human being. Think about the transformative impact of this understanding. When Jesus said, "Before Abraham was, I am," he was pointing to a dimension of your being that exists before you took on your name, your story, your role in this world. Before you became a parent, a professional, a student, or whatever identity you currently hold, there was and is this timeless "I am" awareness that remains untouched by any human circumstance or limitation. This hidden truth explains something remarkable about Jesus' entire approach to life and spirituality. Have you ever noticed that throughout the Gospels, Jesus never begged? He never pleaded with God or desperately sought divine intervention from some distant source. His prayers weren't characterized by the anxious energy of someone trying to convince an external deity to help him. Instead, he spoke with the quiet confidence of someone who understood that the I am consciousness he embodied was already one with the creative force of existence itself. Behind the scenes of every miracle, every teaching, every moment of profound wisdom was this fundamental recognition. The same consciousness that existed before Abraham wasn't separate from the source of all creation. It was that source expressing through human awareness. This mindset shift changes everything about how we understand our relationship with the divine and our capacity for transformation in daily life. When you begin to grasp what before Abraham was, I am, truly means, your entire approach to prayer, to challenges, to seeking guidance undergoes a revolutionary change. Instead of positioning yourself as someone who needs to petition external forces for help, you begin to recognize that the same timeless awareness Jesus pointed to is already present within you as your deepest nature. The consciousness that was present before all human history, before all personal stories, before all sense of limitation. That's not something you need to become. That's what you already are beneath every layer of conditioning and learned identity. This journey of recognition doesn't require years of spiritual practice or complex theological study. It happens in moments of quiet acknowledgement when you touch that place within yourself that exists beyond your personal timeline, beyond your achievements and failures, beyond every role you've ever played. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring what happens when this recognition begins to transform the very foundation of how you experience yourself and your relationship with existence itself. If you've ever felt a sense of your identity existing beyond your personal story, even for just a moment, write in the comments, "I've touched the timeless." The most revolutionary aspect of Jesus's "before Abraham was, I am" declaration is that he wasn't describing something you need to achieve, acquire, or even develop through years of spiritual discipline. He was pointing to what you already are at the deepest level of your being. This hidden truth challenges everything we've been taught about the spiritual journey and completely transforms our understanding of what authentic awakening actually involves. Most people approach spirituality with the underlying assumption that they need to somehow bridge a gap between their current human experience and some distant divine reality. This creates an endless cycle of spiritual seeking, always reaching for something that feels perpetually just beyond their grasp. But when Jesus spoke from that eternal I am consciousness, he was revealing that this timeless awareness isn't separate from you. It's the very foundation upon which your entire existence rests. Consider the profound impact this has on your daily spiritual practice. Behind the scenes of traditional religious approaches, there's often an energy of desperation, of pleading with external forces for intervention or assistance. This mindset keeps you positioned as someone fundamentally separate from divine source, always dependent on convincing God to help you from the outside. But the I am consciousness that existed before Abraham operates from a completely different paradigm. When you begin to touch this timeless awareness within yourself, something remarkable happens to how you approach prayer and spiritual connection. Instead of that familiar energy of, "Please help me," "Please change this situation," or "Please give me what I need," you find yourself naturally shifting into recognition. You're no longer trying to get God's attention or convince divine power to intervene. You're simply acknowledging what already exists in the eternal present moment where the I am awareness dwells. This transformation from spiritual seeking to spiritual recognition represents one of the most significant mindset shifts a person can experience. The decisions you make from this place of understanding create entirely different results than those made from a consciousness of separation and lack. Your entire relationship with challenges, opportunities, and daily circumstances begins to operate from the same foundation that Jesus demonstrated when he spoke with such unwavering certainty about his eternal nature. If these insights resonate with you, hit that subscribe button to continue exploring these transformative teachings together. The journey from desperately asking external forces for help to consciously recognizing the divine presence that's already complete within every moment doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen naturally when you understand what "before Abraham was, I am" actually points to in your own experience. This isn't about adopting new beliefs or following complex spiritual techniques. It's about discovering what was never actually hidden in the first place. Now, I want to explore what happens when this recognition becomes more than just an intellectual understanding and begins to transform the actual fabric of how you experience reality on a moment-by-moment basis. If you've noticed a shift in how you approach prayer or spiritual connection, even in small ways, write in the comments. Recognition feels different. What makes this understanding so transformative is the complete shift it creates in how you see your fundamental relationship with existence itself. For most of your life, you've probably operated from the underlying assumption that you're essentially a cosmic orphan, a separate human being desperately trying to establish some kind of connection with a divine source that exists somewhere out there. This creates a constant sense of spiritual homelessness, always seeking but never quite finding the lasting connection you're looking for. But Jesus's "before Abraham was, I am" declaration reveals something that changes everything about this search. You're not a separate entity trying to reach divinity. You are divine consciousness temporarily expressing through human form. The same timeless awareness that Jesus pointed to when he spoke those profound words is the very consciousness that's reading these words right now, thinking these thoughts, breathing this breath. This isn't philosophical theory. This is the hidden truth behind your actual existence. The impact of this revelation on your daily experience cannot be overstated. When you begin to recognize that you're not seeking connection with divine source, but actually are divine source, expressing uniquely through your individual human experience, every aspect of your spiritual journey transforms. The decisions you make, the way you handle challenges, the manner in which you relate to others, everything shifts from the energy of lack and separation to the recognition of inherent wholeness and connection. Behind the scenes of Jesus' entire ministry was this fundamental understanding. He wasn't trying to establish a religion where people would worship him as someone separate and superior. Every teaching, every interaction, every demonstration of divine consciousness was an invitation for others to recognize the same timeless awareness within themselves. When he embodied the I am consciousness, he was showing what becomes possible when a human being fully awakens to their true nature beyond all personal history and conditioning. This recognition doesn't make you arrogant or separate you from humanity. Instead, it connects you more deeply with all life by revealing the same divine essence expressing through everyone and everything. The I am consciousness that existed before Abraham isn't exclusive to Jesus. It's the universal awareness that animates all existence, including your own moment-by-moment experience. The journey of awakening to this truth isn't about acquiring special knowledge or developing supernatural abilities. It's about removing the layers of misperception that have obscured what was always present. When you truly understand what Jesus meant by his timeless declaration, you realize that the spiritual path isn't about becoming something you're not, but about recognizing what you've always been beneath every story you've told yourself about limitation and separation. Now, I want to explore how this recognition practically transforms the way you experience challenges and opportunities in everyday life, revealing the profound difference between living from human limitation and expressing from divine consciousness. If you're beginning to sense that you might be more than just your personal story and circumstances, write in the comments, "I am divine expression." When Jesus declared, "I and my Father are one," he was speaking from the same timeless "I am" consciousness that existed before Abraham. This wasn't a claim of special status or exclusive relationship. It was a revelation of the universal truth that applies to every human being. The oneness he described flows directly from understanding what the eternal I am actually represents. The universal consciousness that you share, the same divine awareness that preceded your personal story and will continue beyond it. This profound revelation becomes clearer when you consider a simple but powerful metaphor. Imagine standing by the ocean, watching the waves rise and fall. Each wave appears unique, with its own form, size, and movement. Yet every wave is nothing other than ocean itself expressing temporarily in wave form. The wave doesn't spend its existence trying to become oceanic. It already is ocean, simply manifesting as a particular expression of the infinite body of water. This is exactly what Jesus was pointing to with his "before Abraham was, I am" declaration. You are not a separate human being striving to become divine. You are divine consciousness temporarily expressing in human form, just as the wave is ocean temporarily expressing as a unique formation. The substance of your being, your awareness, your very existence, is not separate from the infinite I am consciousness any more than a wave is separate from the ocean. Behind the scenes of this understanding lies a transformation that impacts every decision you make, every challenge you face, and every relationship you experience. When you recognize that the oneness Jesus described isn't something to achieve through years of spiritual practice, but the very foundation of your existence right now, everything changes. Your approach to life's difficulties shifts from the mindset of a limited human seeking external help to the recognition of divine consciousness expressing through temporary human circumstances. The journey from separation consciousness to oneness recognition doesn't require you to become something other than what you already are. Just as a wave never needs to acquire oceanness, it simply needs to recognize its essential nature. You don't need to become divine. The I am awareness that Jesus embodied when he spoke those revolutionary words is already present as your deepest identity. The consciousness that exists before every thought, every emotion, every story you tell yourself about who you are. This recognition creates a fundamental mindset shift that affects how you navigate every aspect of human experience. When challenges arise, instead of approaching them from the perspective of limitation and lack, you begin to meet them from the same consciousness that could declare its eternal nature with such unwavering certainty. Now, I want to explore what happens when this recognition of your inherent oneness with divine consciousness begins to transform the most practical aspects of your daily spiritual practice, particularly in how you approach moments of prayer and inner connection. If this understanding of your true nature as divine consciousness expressing in human form resonates with you, write in the comments, "I am the ocean in wave form." When this understanding of your essential oneness with divine consciousness begins to permeate your daily spiritual practice, something profound happens to the very nature of prayer itself. Instead of approaching prayer as a petition, asking, pleading, or trying to convince an external deity to intervene in your circumstances. Prayer transforms into something entirely different, pure recognition of what already exists in the eternal now. Think about what this means practically. When Jesus spoke from the "before Abraham was, I am" consciousness, he was pointing to a timeless state where all divine qualities already exist: peace, wisdom, love, abundance, healing. These aren't distant gifts waiting to be granted by some external source. They're already present in the eternal I am moment, the same consciousness that you access whenever you touch that place within yourself that exists beyond your personal timeline and story. This revelation creates a complete transformation in how you approach moments of spiritual connection. Behind the scenes of traditional prayer lies an underlying assumption of separation, the belief that you're reaching across some cosmic distance to connect with divine power that exists apart from you. But from the I am consciousness, prayer becomes a moment of acknowledging what's already present, recognizing the divine reality that exists right here, right now, as the very foundation of your being. One of the great mystical teachers, Joel Goldsmith, understood this principle deeply. He taught that recognizing your inherent divine nature dissolves the root cause of all human suffering, the belief in separation from divine source. When you truly grasp that the same consciousness Jesus referred to as existing before Abraham is your own timeless nature, the sense of being disconnected from God completely dissolves. This isn't spiritual theory or wishful thinking. It's the fundamental reality behind your existence that changes everything about how you experience life's challenges and opportunities. The impact of this recognition goes far beyond philosophical understanding. It affects the decisions you make, the way you handle stress, the manner in which you relate to others, and how you navigate every aspect of human experience. When you pray from the I am, a consciousness, you're not trying to get something from outside yourself. You're simply allowing your awareness to rest in the truth of what already is, in the eternal present, where all divine qualities naturally exist. This journey from petition to recognition represents one of the most significant mindset shifts possible in spiritual development. Instead of positioning yourself as someone who lacks divine connection and needs to convince external forces to help you, you begin to operate from the recognition that the same timeless awareness Jesus embodied is already present as your deepest identity. Now, I want to explore how this recognition of your inherent divine nature creates tangible transformations in how you experience healing, abundance, and harmonious relationships in everyday life. If you've noticed a difference between asking for something and simply recognizing what's already present, write in the comments. Recognition changes everything. The difference between these two approaches to prayer represents a complete revolution in consciousness that affects every area of your life. When someone operates from the belief that divinity is separate and distant, their entire spiritual practice carries the energy of desperation and lack. They approach prayer with phrases like, "Please God, help me with this problem," or "I need you to fix this situation for me." While sincere, this mindset reinforces the very separation that creates suffering in the first place. But when you begin to understand what Jesus meant by "before Abraham was, I am," your prayer consciousness undergoes a profound transformation. You're no longer reaching across some cosmic distance trying to get God's attention. Instead, you're acknowledging the divine presence that already exists right here, right now, as the very essence of your being. This shift from desperate pleading to conscious recognition changes not just your words, but the entire energy and effectiveness of your spiritual. In practice, this principle becomes crystal clear when you examine how Jesus approached healing throughout his ministry. He never operated from the mindset of someone trying to convince a distant God to intervene in human problems. Instead, he consistently demonstrated what it looks like when someone recognizes divine presence as already complete in every situation. Behind the scenes of every healing was this fundamental recognition, the eternal reality that existed before Abraham was present. Right there, beneath all appearances of limitation, lack, or disease, Jesus saw beyond the surface story of human problems to the timeless truth that was always present but often obscured by beliefs in separation. This wasn't miraculous in the way most people think of miracles, as supernatural interventions from outside the natural order. It was the natural result of consciousness aligned with the I am awareness that recognizes wholeness as the fundamental reality beneath all temporary appearances. The impact of this understanding on your own experience cannot be overstated. When you begin to approach life's challenges from this level of consciousness, you discover that the same recognition is available to you. Whether you're facing health issues, financial concerns, relationship difficulties, or any other human challenge, you have access to the same I am awareness that operates from divine completeness rather than human limitation. This journey of transformation doesn't require you to deny the reality of human problems or pretend that challenges don't exist. Instead, it invites you to see through them to the eternal reality that was present before any temporary situation arose. When you touch this timeless awareness within yourself, you naturally begin to operate from wholeness rather than lack, from divine assurance rather than human anxiety. Now, I want to explore how this recognition creates tangible changes in your daily experience, revealing the practical difference between living from human limitation and expressing from the consciousness Jesus embodied. If you've experienced moments where recognizing something deeper transformed a situation, write in the comments, "Deeper sight changes things." When this recognition of your inherent I am nature becomes more than just an intellectual understanding and starts to permeate your daily consciousness, something remarkable happens. You begin to experience tangible shifts in your everyday reality that demonstrate the practical power of living from the same awareness Jesus embodied when he declared his eternal existence. These changes aren't the result of manipulating external circumstances or applying special techniques. They flow naturally from removing the mental barriers that have obscured your divine nature. Think about what happens when you remove a dam from a flowing river. The water doesn't need to be taught how to flow. It simply returns to its natural state. Similarly, when you remove the beliefs in separation and limitation that have blocked your recognition of the I am consciousness, divine qualities begin expressing through you as your authentic state of being. Healing, abundance, harmonious relationships, and inner peace start manifesting not because you've acquired something new, but because you've remembered what was always true. This transformation affects the decisions you make, the energy you bring to challenges, and how you naturally respond to life's inevitable ups and downs. Behind the scenes of this shift is a fundamental change in identity. You're no longer operating as someone who occasionally has spiritual experiences. You're recognizing yourself as spiritual consciousness, temporarily having human experiences. This isn't about becoming superhuman or denying the reality of human circumstances. It's about approaching those circumstances from the timeless awareness that exists before all temporary situations. The journey from human Struggling to divine expression represents the most profound mindset revolution possible. When you truly understand what Jesus meant by "before Abraham was, I am," your entire experience transforms from being a limited human, desperately trying to connect with distant divinity, into recognizing yourself as divine consciousness expressing through temporary human form. Life's challenges don't disappear, but your relationship with them completely changes. Instead of meeting difficulties from a place of fear, lack, or limitation, you begin to approach them from the eternal I am perspective, the same consciousness that could declare its timeless nature with such unshakable certainty. This shift doesn't require years of spiritual practice or complex techniques. It happens naturally when you touch that place within yourself that existed before your personal story began and will continue after it ends. The impact of this recognition creates a ripple effect throughout every aspect of your experience. Relationships become more harmonious because you're no longer approaching others from a place of need or desperation. Work and creative endeavors flow more naturally because you're expressing from divine abundance rather than human limitation. Even mundane daily activities take on a different quality when approached from the consciousness of your eternal nature. Now, I want to share a simple but powerful practice that can help anchor this recognition in your daily awareness, making the transition from intellectual understanding to lived experience. If you're beginning to sense that your challenges might be opportunities to express from divine consciousness rather than human limitation, write in the comments, "I'm ready to express divinity." If you've stayed with me through this entire exploration of what Jesus truly meant when he declared, "Before Abraham was, I am," then you understand something profound about your own eternal nature that most people never discover. This recognition of your inherent divine consciousness isn't just beautiful spiritual theory. It's the foundation for a completely transformed way of experiencing life itself. The journey we've shared today represents just the beginning of understanding how this timeless awareness can reshape every aspect of your daily experience. If you found value in exploring these deeper truths that have been hidden in plain sight for centuries, I'd love to have you become part of our community here. Hit that subscribe button because we dive into these life-changing revelations every week, uncovering what spiritual masters actually taught versus what tradition has often obscured. And if you made it all the way to this moment, recognizing something stirring within you as we explored the eternal I am consciousness, let me know by commenting, "This message awakened something in me." There's something powerful about acknowledging when truth resonates at the deepest level, and I always love connecting with those who are ready to move beyond surface spirituality into authentic recognition. If this exploration created that sense of recognition we've been talking about, that feeling of remembering rather than learning something new, a gentle tap on the like button helps others who are seeking exactly this understanding find their way here. There's a video right here that takes this recognition even deeper, exploring how to live from this I am consciousness in practical everyday situations. Click and continue with me there as we discover what it truly means to express divine awareness through human experience, moving from understanding to embodiment of these eternal truths.